and tell a little bit about their background in the industry. After that, our honorable dignitaries will give their views over the enlightening topic today. Then we will take few moments where the students will ask their queries related to the topic today. Then I will end the conversation with the vote of thanks. So today's panel discussion dignitaries are Dr. Manju Gupta ma'am, Dean Academics at IMS Noida, Mr. Gaurav Mehrotra sir, founder and CEO at White Hatters Marketing, Dr. Charu Malhotra ma'am, Coordinator Center of E-Governance, Ms. Poonam Madan ma'am, Digital Marketing Specialist, Web Analytics Expert, SEM PPC Consultant, Dr. Hari Krishna Maram sir, Vice Chancellor, Digital University, USA, Professor Preeti Rani Rajvanshi ma'am, Assistant Professor, HOD, SOIT. With due respect, now I would like to introduce Dr. Manju Gupta ma'am. Dr. Manju Gupta ma'am is a Dean Academics at IMS Noida. She has delivered training on various IT technologies like Java, web development, digital marketing, and advanced Excel, project management, data analytics to various clients like CDAC, NIES BUT, Aris Infotech, Test Enclave, IMS Noida, RGCMS, Vardhaman Tires, Nimal Polymers Delhi, Cognizant, WNS Global, GoDaddy, Trimble Solution India, Synergetic, Cintil, and too many more national and international participants. Her key expertise areas are business or strategic planning, business analysis, operations and delivery, industry relationship management, team management, training and development, strong interpersonal and presentation skills, leadership abilities, persuasive communication. Now I would like to invite Dr. Manju Gupta ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. First of all, I would really like to thank to Professor Maram, Mr. Gaurav, Dr. Charu, and Ms. Poonam, who graciously accept the invitation to become the panelist today. And the topic we chosen, that role of digital communication in social setup. I think now everybody is aware that what the social impact we have on this of the social media. So I'll be speaking about the positive impact of social media on youth, because generally we are surrounded by the youth. When we are working in a college, every time we are surrounded by the youth, and we see that what kind of impact they are possessing on their life, positive or negative. But I would be speaking on the positive impact more. So there are various unknown or known positive consequences for young people who engage regularly with social media. The benefit include the enhancement of social contact, independence and communication, as well as a sense of emotional connection with others. If we talk about adolescents, they interact online mainly to remain connected with their existing friends, who communicate with friends on the internet, feel closer to their existing friend. In fact, self-reported level of loneliness are lower, and that of social adjustment is higher for late adolescents who use Facebook in order to maintain relationship. So this is a quite evident that nowadays young students or youth are mainly using social media to connect with their friends, virtually, I can say. And while, similarly, some report says that the college student loneliness decrease with increased Facebook use. This is also very evident that when students are using Facebook much and much, or maybe any other social platform, their loneliness is getting to be increased. This other study suggests that. So the internet enhanced self-disclosure hypothesis, which argue that increased social, communication or social connectedness and well-being, which are often experienced by the young via using the internet, result from a high-end self-disclosure. And it is also found that youth tend to use social media to gather information and to connect with others who share their interests. So these findings are based on a research article which has been recently published by one of my friend. So I'm just going through those research articles and coming on to this conclusion that it appears that communication online allow people to enhance existing relationship as well as foster new ones with similar people that they may not encounter day to day. So in one study, it has been found that the instant messaging was found to result in improvement to one's emotional state such that young experience emotional relief following such conversation with their peers. So it clearly using the internet for communication, and the purpose has numerous benefit for emotional well-being of youth. If you look at the negative aspect, the negative is in case of the negative aspect, the research shows that the consequences of social media use has focused on the depressed effect. So I think we all agree with me that nowadays the much user of social media is leading to depression also. So some of the students I know very personally that they have gone through to a stage of depression where they were very very much addicted to social media or online gamings or online platforms. So this reported the troublesome adolescent and those experiencing victimization and depression and form closer online relationship than other adolescents, which suggests that online relationship may attract more socially and emotionally vulnerable adolescents. It has also been shown that for college students, approximately one third express mild depressive symptoms, which has a negative impact on their cognitive and emotional well-being. So the point is, the students who are not only students, I can say the youth or our younger generation who are more into this virtual world, they are going into depression, loneliness, and other different kind of severity complexity is arising. So this is the negative impact, but then there are a lot of positive impacts which I've already shared. I will not speak much because I'll give more time to the panelists who have expert in their own domain, and they will definitely enlighten us about the use of social media for digital, or I can say the digital communication, how we are using in social setup. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manju, for the kind introduction. I would want to start up my presentation first before getting into anything else. Uh, a quick signal if you guys can see my presentation would be great.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So first of all, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, especially to Dr. Manju, for inviting me to be a part of this esteemed panel. And thank you all for having the patience to listen to 20 minutes of me talking about this particular topic. The idea when it comes to digital communication, specifically in the social setup over the last 1.5 years, ever since COVID-19 started, is of extreme importance. Even prior to that, digital communication was gaining grounds massively. There are multiple social media companies who would measure out year on year the growth of digital communication across the space, and it has increased exponentially over the last 1.5 years or so. That being said, I would want to start with a very primitive idea, right? The example of human beings in themselves as a sort of social animal who always knew that they need to develop a particular conversation method in order to move forward in society. And this was put down extremely well by American physicist and psychologist Leon Kass when he said that human animal has evolved as a preeminently social animal, with the idea being that as time progresses, mankind would find multiple ways to communicate with each other. Earlier, it was simply drawings across stones. Then it became language, which then converted into simply talking to each other over cell phones, which has now moved on to internet predominantly over the last 1.5 years. But as we move forward, I would want to sort of have a very quick look around into the data snapshot of the globe. Now, this report is presented by one of the leading social agencies in the globe, which is We Are Social, based out of New York. And every year they come up with how the world looked like digitally every year. So far, they haven't published a 2020 report, but this is how the exact globe looked like. So out of a population of 7.75 billion, we had unique 5.19% billion, or roughly 70% penetration of internet across the globe, which essentially meant that it was much easier to talk to your peers, your friends, family members across the internet than any other medium that is currently in existence, out of which almost 50% penetration was seen for social media across various forms, predominantly Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. These were the three most used communication channels for everybody across the internet. Now, across the entire COVID period, the number of the amount that every individual was spending digitally shot up to 6 hours and 43 minutes every day. Imagine that. Roughly 28% of the entire day being spent on computer between the users of age 16 to 64. And out of that 6 hours and 44 minutes, 50% of it was spent on a communication app. So it could either be a social media app, it could be WhatsApp, it could be Signal or any other app. But the idea was that people were communicating more with each other than at any given point of time over the internet. Now, this could be used extremely beneficially by certain companies as well. And one such example was from WWF last selfie campaign, where they simply said that there are certain endangered species across the globe, and there are very few numbers of the individuals left for these species. So what they simply did was, and this was at the peak of Snapchat. I think some of you might still recall that particular app from 2-3 years ago. They simply said that you need to make a donation and share this post as much as possible. Make people realize that there are endangered species across the globe which have the potential to go extinct if we do not take up any particular campaign. Now, there was a certain $1 million goal that they had set in terms of donations, and they said that share this post as much as possible. Now, from there on, it went viral on Twitter. By the end of that week, nearly 120 million users had seen this particular message, and the fundraising goal was met within 3 days. And if that doesn't let you know the power of digital communication, I'm not sure there are too many examples that can do so. Now, with that in mind, in comes COVID-19 at the end of 2019. But even more so, the lockdown period, which started in March of 2020, accelerated how people were sort of interacting with each other. Now, at this point of time, WHO, World Health Organization, came out and said that during this period, you can potentially come across 5 different negative emotions or feelings that could cause down a lot of breakage across people, namely anger, loneliness, boredom, anxiety, and irritability. And all these 5 negative feelings would ensure that people are not able to perform their daily tasks at their highest possible capacity. Or even apart from their day-to-day tasks, if they were working from home, that was causing a lot of issue. At this point of time, what they noted was that if they simply try to measure how the digital communication changed over this period of time, or how people were now using social media apps or any other apps or interacting with technology in a way, they need to check whether or not it was causing a positive uptick. And no strange results over here. They were able to map out that people were actually interacting with their friends and family members much more during this point of time, especially for leisure as well as for work. So, video calls for leisure saw an increment by almost 109% compared to the pre-lockdown era, while video calls for work or school-related stuff increased by almost 87%. Now, compare this to something as simple as receiving a voice call from friends or family members, playing online. This would mark a stark gap in how technology was being used at that point of time. It was now a predominant mechanism for both the institutes as well as your friends and family members to interact with each other. And this is where we would want to focus moving forward. Now, one key sector that noted down the highest level of impact during COVID-19 was obviously the healthcare sector. And over here, a news report by Pharmacy Online noted down that there are 4 different components, and they conducted this research on nearly 5,000 physicians across the world, except for United States, which at that point of time was feeling the effect of the pandemic the most among all the countries. And what they noted down was that across the board, physicians were consuming the online content by approximately 91% more. They understood that the medical representatives, which came to meet physicians across the globe, was expected to be down by nearly 61%. Virtual meetings were supposed to increase by 67%, and 56% physicians said that they are now expecting that the online meetings or the online consultations will increase by 56%, even if COVID-19 dies away in a year or so, which would let you know the impact on one of the biggest sectors that has been facing a lot of brunt ever since COVID-19 started. Now, apart from this, We also need to know why digital communication is important to companies. Now, Manju ma'am at the beginning very clearly mapped out the fact that as a part of your career, you're supposed to inherit certain traits from digital communication aspect that you would want to showcase in whichever company you're going to work on. It could be a very crucial aspect of any company when they are hiring digital marketeers. And there are certain things that we need to keep in mind when it comes to deciding why is the digital communication point important to company. And there are 8 different traits wherein we can point out definitely and say that these are various areas where a company can definitely see a marked impact in terms of their overall communication. First is educating customers. Now, the example that I would once again take would be the WWF selfie park. It was a part of educating the real life people in understanding how endangered the species have become. And 120 million users coming across that particular tweet would let you know that it is extremely easy to go viral when it comes to a social platform than any other platform in history. Now, generating awareness would tie into educating customers, but it could be done at a very basic fundamental level. So it could be as simple as letting the users know how the company policy has changed. Maybe a delivery time zone has changed. Maybe the delivery experts are now wearing certain protective gear in order to ensure that the food that is being delivered is much more safer. The timings have been cut down due to COVID, and so on and so forth. The other aspect is driving conversions. Now, where this becomes important is if there is a particular individual who is trying to ensure that there is a customer who is at the other end of that particular conversation digitally, then in order to convince them, you don't need to invite them to the food store. You don't need to make them physically visit. All you need to do is get on a voice call or a video call, tell them about the multiple traits, share a potential video which includes a direct walkthrough with your store, and you would be able to convince that particular potential customer into consumer. And this is where conversion driving is a key critical component of anything online. The other part is delivering good customer service. Now, the idea over here is once again, if there is a potential customer who has a problem with what you have delivered in terms of product or service, you can engage with them, sort out their queries, and make sure that the person is taking away a very good customer experience from their point of view. And this ties into the magical customer experience. Now, good customer service would eventually lead to a magical customer experience, which means a very good testimonial coming in. And leaving a testimonial online is extremely crucial. Case in point, if you're ordering food from an app like a Zomato or a Swiggy, you would definitely want to check out how people have been rating this restaurant previously. Compared to a 4-star restaurant, if there is a restaurant that is ordering food at a 1-star rating after 1,000 reviews, you definitely wouldn't want to go back to those guys and say, hey, let's give them a try. Maybe they deliver a 5-star experience this time around, right? And this is where the managing of risk aspect comes into the picture. If you see that suddenly you are generating any number of negative testimonials from customers, maybe shut down your shop for a day or two, address these guys, what are the potential risks that are coming in, how we are not providing them with the best of the services, and can we potentially increase that to a providing better experience. Next up, providing entertainment, which is a key crucial component, especially in the COVID times. When people cannot go outside, they expect the entertainment to come inside their living room or inside their bedrooms. And at that point of time, you need to ensure that your brand is actually providing that entertainment sense, right? And if you cannot do that, then you are not creating an engaged environment with the customers. Last but not the least, building a brand. Now, this encapsulates all these 7 different components that we have been discussing. For a brand to be successful online, you need to ensure that your customers are engaged, your customers are happy, and your customers are absolutely engaging with you at any given point of time. And once you have done that, you'll start to build your brand very successfully. And one key example for that would be OnePlus. When they started their selling their mobile phones, it was via a viral campaign. You need to be invited. You need to be a part of the entire gaming system in order to have a OnePlus mobile phone. And this is where you build a brand. And at that point of time, when they started launching their new phones, they didn't have to rely on that particular mode of communication. Now, why is it important for companies at a consumer level to go digital? First of all, it's a post dialogue. We discussed that particular point wherein we say that sure, at any given point of time, if there is a consumer who is feeling extremely bad about your brand, you need to get in touch with them. You need to create a dialogue and you need to sort out whatever their problems are. Two, it's cost effective. Now, obviously, instead of creating a particular physical environment wherein you invite the person to visit your store or visit your office and then sort out their problems. You can simply get on a call and ensure that you are not only removing the cost of keeping an office in place, moreover, you're also reducing the cost that would have to be spent by the consumer, effectively bringing down costs on both ends, which works out as a win-win solution for everybody. Next up is reinforcing a shared value. And I cannot emphasize this enough. A lot of people think that your online communication needs to be different from your offline communication. Whatever you are printing out on news, radio, maybe even television can potentially be different from the brand that you are digital. No, it needs to be an integrated 360-degree marketing campaign that enforces that whatever your marketing values are, whatever your brand stands for, it is absolutely the same across the board. And obviously, it needs to cover time and space, which is to say that you can potentially have three people mapping 8 different hours across the time zone, which means all 24 hours are covered. So if you have your customers across different time zones, maybe few sets in India, few sets in USA, few sets in Australia, you could potentially have customer support all day long with different people, and therefore you are covering not only geography but you are covering the entire time zone that is available to the humans. Now, there are essentially 5 different barriers to digital communication when it comes to picture, and all of them can ensure that the digital communication that you're trying to provide in a social mechanism, in an online mechanism, can potentially fail, right? And the first one, the most important one, is a physical barrier. Now, this was a research done by Pew Research Center, which is one of the most famous research centers across the globe. Wherein they say that it's okay if people are going to, if your consumers are going online, which is absolutely fine, but there are still a lot of people who are not available online. Now, in terms of the capacity, we saw in the earlier slide that the overall internet penetration is close to 60%, which means 40% people are still not online. They still cannot potentially visit your website if you have gone completely online in the post-COVID era. Especially of those 40%, nearly 1 billion people exist in South Asia alone. So India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, they account for the largest growth that is not currently online, which is a huge barrier if you are going to be present online in this region. And the same goes across US, across few other countries where internet is not yet available as a necessity of human life, or the costs are too high for people to afford them. And therefore, you need to ensure that the place, medium, and time are 3 barriers that do not exist for your digital communication, or potentially you may lose out on certain consumers. Next up is semantic barriers. Now, here you might understand it better from this emoji example. So, different cell phones or different companies would represent the same sort of emoji in a different manner. Now, let me quickly go back. Right. So, if you're using the colon capital D emoji, if you convert it into an online mechanism from Apple, Microsoft, Samsung, LG, and Google, the representation is different. And even at that point of time, how people perceive that particular emoji can be vastly different. So, based on a research work, people saw that the one that is being used by Apple generally lets them feel a negative emotion when they see that particular emoji. While if they were seeing the same emoji, colon, capital D, being translated by Google or LG, they were having an extremely positive impact. So, how a small thing such as representing the same set of alphabet as well as a special character could translate to a very different feeling for different consumers across the board is a huge thing to keep in mind. So what you consider as neutral or happy may come down to be negative for a few set of people, and this is something that you need to once again keep in mind. Next up is attention barrier. Now, in terms of the content that is being populated day on day, month on month, year on year, people simply do not have the time to look at what you are publishing day in and day out. And therefore, you need to be extremely sure about the content that you are publishing. Now, case in point being 60% of links that are being shared on Twitter have never been clicked before. Roughly 85% of the websites never see an actual visitor who was not searching for the website by their brand name. Nearly 82% of people have never seen their YouTube videos being shared by an unknown stranger. Now, at this particular point of time, you need to ensure that these attention barriers are being met by engaging content. And therefore, the impact of your communication needs to be extremely crucial. You need to ensure that people are seeing your communication as a very engaged content, and therefore they are more likely to actually share it across or pay attention to it. Next up, the emotional barrier. Now, coming back to the example which I was talking about a couple of minutes ago, at any given point of time, you could be rest assured that the way people perceive a message can differ from person to person, male to female, man to child, and so on and so forth. Now, this essentially means that at any given point of time, what you are sharing can be inferred in a vastly different manner than what you expect it to. There have been companies who have been sued. There have been companies who have faced lawsuits from a group of people. One of the key examples being Nike, when they came out last year and they said men can also face some kind of trauma when it comes to harassment. And at that point of time, they wanted to say, stop the negative feelings that are being shared, stop the bullying all around. And there was a large group of people who started burning everything from Nike at that point of time. So you need to ensure that at any given point of time, whatever message you're trying to send across, it is being met with the right tone that you expect it to be. Last, credibility barriers. Now, this is something that you guys would be able to understand much more easily. And the key crucial component for this, the key crucial example for this could be WhatsApp University. And I think you guys would be familiar with that particular phrase when you can simply use it to decry anything that is being shared by your elders across WhatsApp, right? The idea being that people are prone to being duped. People are prone to be fooled by something like a WhatsApp, by a photoshopped image, or by a deepfake video, which is becoming increasingly common. They are being used in political campaigns as well, which ensures that at any given point of time, you can spread across fake news and expect a lot of people to be convinced by it. Now, this is a huge thing that you need to solve from a company brand perspective. And the idea over here being that people are prone to believing things that are being shared by their social bubble. Whatever is being shared by people that they know, they are more likely to believe it in comparison to a particular brand. Therefore, how do you solve that particular problem is a huge component. Now, these are few of the barriers. If you are able to solve, you are going to have an extremely crucial role in any organization that you can potentially be a part of. And the idea of this conversation was to not only look into social media as something that is prevalent, because it has been for the last 6-7 years. Not only look at digital communication as something that started only because of COVID, because it was already there for the last 4-5 years and increasing at a very high rate. COVID-19 only accelerated it. But the idea is that you need to understand it from two very different perspectives. At a company level, digital communication can ensure that all your employees understand your company values and ethos. And at a consumer level, you're trying to ensure that whatever brand value you have in place is being understood absolutely well by every single customer. Otherwise, you can be potentially prone to backlash. And once you have solved the conundrum, wherein your digital communication keeps your employees happy and keep your customers happy, that is where you will be a very integral part of any brand. That being said, I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. I seem to have bored everybody to sleep over here.
No, it was really
to the
good
contrary, it
information.
was very interesting. Yeah.
It was really good information, Gaurav. I really enjoyed it. As a digital marketer, I really enjoyed this conversation. Should I add some of my points into it? Whatever you said, that
Please
was
do.
like really good information. But
Please feel free to do.
as I do digital marketing for the companies, so I just want to add few points into it. You have already covered a lot in these slides. I don't have any slide to share, but let me talk about it verbally.
Sure.
Yeah. I think participants are also listening. Kids are also listening, right? You guys are there with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure nobody's sleeping, as Gaurav said. Okay. As Gaurav and Dr. Manju has discussed digital marketing from personal and professional perspective, as I mostly do digital marketing for companies, so I would like to add some value from professional perspective. If you are studying and you want to pursue a career in digital marketing, what kind of skill set you can add side by side along with your regular study which you guys are doing.
I would like to introduce our next eminent panel member, that is Dr. Hari Krishna Maram sir. Dr. Hari Krishna Maram is the Digital Brand Ambassador and Chairman Vision Digital India. His work in the field of management education spans over 24 years. Dr. Maram served as the Governing Council member at AIMA, All India Management Association. He was also the Vice President at AIMS, Association of India Management Schools. Additionally, he was Honorable Secretary BMA, Bangalore Management Association. His efforts in management education have been recognized on numerous occasions by the Government of India. He is the part of the UGC committee. Dr. Maram is advisory board member in leading organizations. Besides being an excellent academician and educationist, Dr. Maram is involved with a large number of CSR activities. Additionally, he is the chief mentor of the great initiative Bangalore Green, which aims at environmental conservation in Bangalore. Now I would like to invite Mr. Hari Krishna Maram sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, and digital greetings from Vision Digital India. It's wonderful to be part of this great discussion on digital communication. First of all, I would like to congratulate the entire team at IMS Noida, Dr. Manju Gupta and her team, and the esteemed panel members. Wonderful to listen Gaurav about the digital presence across the world, and nice to see the other esteemed panel, Dr. Charu, Preeti, and other members. So I'm going to talk more on educational front on digital communication, because that is the area where I represent today in this panel. So I think most of you people agree today. I think the numbers which given by Gaurav, almost 7.7 billion people in this world, and almost closely 5 billion people are connected with internet. I think definitely today what we are talking is digital revolution. And this digital revolution is taking place not only in India, across the world. I think during this COVID scenario, the COVID pandemic is given a new doors for the digital communication, especially when it comes to education. I think closely 1.5 billion students from across the world, from primary education to PhD, are unable to attend physical classes in the campuses across the world, and everything is going through digital. When it comes to India, again, we are again largest education system of the world, with more than 1,000 plus universities, then 49,000 colleges, 980,000 schools. Altogether, we have a 360 million students. So again, the same situation in India. We just celebrated kind of a 1 year of the lockdown impact yesterday. And now today, again, there is a lot of uncertainty across the world, not only in India, about when the things will become normal. So I think hopefully things will be okay in a couple of weeks. So everybody is waiting for that, and everybody is waiting for the normalcy. So now when I talk about the usage of digital, definitely I think every minute more than 480,000 people they log into Facebook. Every minute almost in Google search engine, closely around 9 million people go to Google search engine and search for the information. So that is the main dependency today on the digital communication. So here I just would like to say, unlike the traditionally earlier, to pass the news or to spread the news, it used to take a longer duration. Today, the news spreads so fast. For example, yesterday, the Tesla founder, Elon Musk, was telling about people can buy Tesla cars using the Bitcoin. So this news, he just tweeted using the Twitter. And this become like a viral now across the world. The Bitcoin currency rate has gone up and the Tesla market capitalization, the share price has gone up. So today the world is moving on the digital communication. I always keep telling there are three things which changed the human civilization in this world. And the three things are, the first one is invention of computer. The second one is, again, the invention of internet. The third biggest revolution is in this world is the mobile technology, the invention of mobile technology. So now we completed 25 years of the mobile technology in India. And now the way the usage of mobile is going, so everybody is moved towards the digital communication. Today, the highest kind of communication happens using this digital communication. So, for example, to say, if you combine all the networks, the mobile networks of the world, like Airtel, like Jio, like Vodafone, so I'm talking about across the world. So the kind of communication happens when compared than the WhatsApp communication, it is less than 1/5 of the communication, the messages. So today, just a 7-year-old WhatsApp is become a market leader in the world. So today, just with the presence of less than 13, 14 years, the Facebook is become a market leader. So not only that, today the digital communication companies are becoming leaders. Today, if you look at the top 10 companies of the world, out of this top 10 company, typically 5 to 6 companies are mainly into the digital communication and technology. So today, the revenues are coming through digital communication. Today, if you talk about the richest people of this world, the top 10 richest people of the world, again, they are into digital communication. So companies like Google, companies like Microsoft, companies like Facebook, they're completely depending on the digital communication today. So when the lockdown started, when the COVID impact is started across the world, even we were not having a physical paper to read a couple of days. So everything is mainly depending on the digital. We used to get a newspaper online. We used to see the TVs online. So now the mobile become a kind of a game changer today. The entire financial transactions are happening using mobile. Today, people are watching videos, watching TV, watching, reading the newspaper, attending the classes. So everything is becoming, the center is the mobile technology. So in this scenario, I think, especially when it talks about education, we are now, India is called as a demographic dividend country, where we have a largest youth which are living in India. Out of 1.35 billion people, we have almost 60% of our population is below 35 age. So slowly the usage of smartphones, the usage of the technology is going up. I think India is with a sooner going to be a #1 country in this world using the highest internet usage, unlike any country. Even we are going to surpass even China on the number of users and the number of hours we use internet. So today, the internet become kind of the main tool of transactions, the main tool of the communication. So we cannot imagine just without internet living even for a minute. So we cannot imagine what will happen if there is no internet in this world for a minute. Because today we become so much addicted, so much dependency on internet, on the technology. So without this, it is very difficult to live. So in the same front today, just imagine the way the speed what we are using today is not much advanced, unlike what is required. So we call India as technological capital of the world, still with the lowest bandwidth what we are using. Still, when you compare then the speed what offered by countries like US, even a smaller countries like Singapore, even a smaller countries like UK, the speed what we are having in India is the 1/4 lower speed compared than these countries. But still, we are leaders in the technology. So just imagine if our speed is like US, like Singapore, like UK, then imagine where India will be. So I think hopefully the next coming revolution will be a 5G technology. In India, I think India is going to see the 5G technology much faster than other countries in this world. So the 5G technology is going to change the way we are attending today classes, attending today webinars, addressing and connecting people across the world. So the 5G technology is the greatest hope for India. In the area of education, in the area of business transaction, in the area of digital communications. So today, the digital communications are become integral part of every industry, not only education industry. Today, the survival of these industries are become part of digital communications. Today, the e-commerce is again taking a larger share in a purchasing behavior of the people. So today, the way people are buying the products are completely changed, unlike what we were 5 years back. That is the reason today a small company which is started in a shed, in a garage, the Amazon is able to become the #1 company in the world, where they don't produce anything. For example, if you take the #1 car rental company, Uber, they don't produce or they don't own even a single car tire. So what they do is they just connect with the car drivers, car owners, and they using their technology, the app. Every second, more than 6,000 people book the car. The same way Amazon, the same way Flipkart, the same way Expedia, the same way Make My Trip, Atra. These all now becoming leaders. So I think the future is more into the digital communication. I think whether it is a small company or medium company or large company, they have to mainly depend on the digital communication to survive. I think, during this COVID, I think the dependency on the technology and the digital technology has become more important for every industry. So today, the economy revival or even the survival of most of the industries are because of the digital technology and digital communication. So today, there is globally, if you look at the 100 trillion global economy, I think almost 25 to 28% of recession because of the COVID. Even in India, the similar situation. Unlike the IT companies, the technology companies which are into digital are able to show a good progress, unlike traditional companies which are not mainly into the technology. So that shows the advantage of usage of technology. So slowly, every company is mainly looking into adopting technology into their day-to-day practice to become survival, because the COVID is not going to be a last pandemic what we are going to see. So this kind of pandemics are going to be a part of our life in coming years. It is not like the 100 years back we got a plague and again we got this COVID now. So in coming years, this is going to be a phenomenal increase in this kind of scenarios. So I think technology adoption is the only solution to survive, to grow, to prosper, whether individual, whether it is an organization. So those are my views on the digital communication. And thanks once again for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
It is a very enlightening session. And now I think we'll invite Dr. Charu.
Our next eminent panel member is Dr. Charu Ma'am. With more than 30 years of national and international professional experience, Dr. Malhotra is deemed as a global tech evangelist in the domain of digital transformation in governance, cybercrime, safety and security, smart and inclusive cities, technology and public policy formulation, digital India, and so on. Some of their interesting international academic stunts include those at Georgia Tech University, US, December 2019, National Technical University, Argentina, November 2018, International Business School, IBS. She is also the project coordinator for significant digital governance projects under Prime Minister's prestigious Digital India, as well as for tech industry giant. She has guided more than 25 MPhil and PhD research studies in varied aspects, including mHealth, misinformation, USOF, cybersecurity, digital divide, censorship of internet in India, etc. Now I would like to invite Ms. Charu Malhotra, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks for the kind introduction. Before I start, I need to profusely thank my audience for being so patient despite, small technical glitches. I need to thank IMS, particularly eminent Dr. Manju, who is also hailed as a power woman across the world, for giving us this opportunity. And more than that, I need to really admire, appreciate, and thank Dr. Hari Krishnan Maram, who is, yes, sir, who is not just, a visionary in the subject, but is also what I would say a great philanthropist dedicated to the cause of women and vulnerable communities. Sir, your efforts to put India at the top through empowerment of women and other communities is something all of us admire, and we need your guidance throughout. So, and of course, I like to thank Gaurav who spoke before us. So now, with your permission, I hope, Dr. Manju, I have the screen share, feature with me. So I would just share my screen, and you'll have to just bear for 2 minutes to permit me share my screen. And if it is visible, I just need a thumbs up from any of you. I can see. Yes, perfect. So, okay. So everybody who spoke, like Dr. Manju was very clear, she wanted to make it a bouquet of experience of digital transformation. She said Gaurav would put to the plate the digital marketing aspect. She also referred about Dr. Maram being there, which definitely petrified me, Dr. Manju, because if Dr. Maram is there, I think majority of the thoughts have already been shared. So I decided to go unique. I decided, with your permission, to address to your students about role of smart cities, because when we talk of digital transformation at individual level or commerce level, digital marketing or other aspects like social media have been covered by others. Dr. Maram did give us a vision, but I'm going to just pick up one thread of that vision and share with you the thoughts related to smart cities in response to pandemic. This is one of my favorite topics, and I need to thank Dr. Manju for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Why is it one of my favorite topics? Is because a lot of money is being pumped in smart cities. All of us know our esteemed Prime Minister has already allocated huge amount of fund for developing 100 smart cities. We also know that pandemic has shaken us from our manual formats to come to digital formats. So while doing that, the concern of citizens should not be neglected. And whenever I've talked about citizens in any forum, in morning I was a keynote addressee in another forum. So they were surprised that citizen can ever be a deciding factor in digital transformation. Because when people think of digital transformation, they either think of a vertical, education, health, or Uberization or whatever, or they think of technology. They completely forget that the ultimate beneficiary is citizen of people like you and me. So I'll try to bring in that. And whenever I've said that, it's fetched me some awards. Global Smart City Leader is one. I got an opportunity to share my point of view with several experts and stalwarts who cared to listen to me, who cared to appreciate whatever I was trying to say. All these thoughts came to me from my PhD from IIT Delhi, where I was awarded as the best PhD of 4 years, where I was trying to say that people should contribute to digital transformation journey. Yes, Argentina recognized me for my thoughts in ethical and responsible and spiritual design of artificial intelligence. Smart City Leader Award is something I cherish because I think citizens are being heard. The fact that I got awarded means my thoughts are being heard and similar thoughts. Yes, it's a pleasure to be not just a good professional, but a good woman also, and powerful woman for that matter. So with that background, I'll just share with my students, all of you, how is digital transformation at a city level, at an urban level, going to impact our decision making at policy and at grassroots. So in COVID, what was required? Now, if you look at it, when you look at COVID particularly, first and foremost concern was we should not let this spread. We should not let this pandemic become turbulent to an extent of being a disaster. For doing that, contact tracing was very important. That means anybody who's been closely associated to an asymptomatic or an tangibly infected patient should be identified and the contacts should be mapped. It's not easy because it has a viral effect, the network effect. All of you know about viral and ripple effects. So that is one aspect of pandemic. The second part was not just containing those zones, but also forecasting what kind of services are required in these areas. Okay. For example, if an outbreak is in a particular part of Delhi, so are there adequate hospitals there? Are there adequate facilities for frontline workers or for basic amenities, etc.? When we talk of basic amenities, one thing I realized for the first time in my life, that when we used to say ki today's generation is a Maggie generation, we had a lot of derogatory attitude in that they want everything quick. But COVID made us realize everything should be quick in a very positive manner. That means what? Within 10 minutes of my existence, wherever I am, in that periphery, I should have access to an ATM. I should have access to a basic dispensary. I should have access to basic Kiryana shop. I should have access to basic amenities, including my daily existence, grocery, etc. So this 10-minute concept where public service delivery is available at a stone throw distance was another model which is new for us to understand from digital transformation perspective. Putting an Amazon there, putting a Flipkart there, putting an GEM portal there, government e-marketplace, etc., is not going to ensure whether the delivery is going to be instant or not. Please understand, e-commerce might be a very good model, but e-commerce is still not ensuring the last mile connectivity. COVID told us the importance of last mile connectivity because the idea of a containment zone was please don't leave that demarcated area. Last but not the least, a lot of experts in technical realm. I mean, I come from Thapar University and I said from IIT Delhi. We've been always very tech savvy. We've always Yugolized emerging trends in technology. But we forget to keep our eyesight on the repercussions also. So the first and foremost concern which is required and which was felt in COVID was the cascading effect of fake news, the cascading cyber crime effect. You got ransomware attacks,
you had boys locker attack, you had cyberbullying, you had cyber stalking, you had child pedophiles becoming very prevalent, and so many other online crimes increased so much. Why? Because everybody was going digital. I was digitally connected to my family members. We were digitally connected to our office front. Our kids were and grandkids were constantly on, study from home or whatever. So because of pervasive use of technology, first and foremost thing happened was cyber criminals became hyperactive. Their profession got an impetus which was not possible if so many people were not online. And what was the pity? The pity was all those who were online were actually digitally illiterate people. When my father came on Zoom with me, he had never even touched anything beyond a phone for making call. And suddenly he was trying to install. Or when my housemaid asked for Paytm transfer, or when she was trying to access her child's school's website, it was a very new user who had gone online. So because of that, the Jantara effect of cyber criminals in our country manifested like mushrooms. Okay. And while all this was happening, what else happened? A lot of people were rendered unemployed. When they were rendered unemployed, your social media, your websites, your web portals started announcing about, register on this website, you'll get a job. Register on this website, you are entitled to free products. And pass it on to so many people, or click here and you will have so much of transfer of free $5 to your account. All this was information dissemination in digital format, which led to ripple effect of fake news, cybercrime, etc. So these were my core concerns in COVID as an academia who was working in the field of digital transformation. So how was this responded by smart cities? First and foremost, you have to keep in mind that whenever any pandemic hits, this was just one of its type, or whenever any calamity comes, first thing a city has to look into is its resilience. Okay, its resilience to withstand the impact, and if they are not able to withstand, how do they recover? Okay, and to do that, the response is very important. The response of the city authorities, the response of the city leaders, the response of the urban municipalities, the response of the public service delivery agencies, how quickly they respond to a calamity. So the first part of the cycle is response. Okay, of course there is some preparation, but calamities never come announced, so that part is a gray zone. I'm not even going to talk about it. But when the response is to be looked into, the response time or the latency in the response time will decide whether we were effective leaders or effective planners or not. So once we have responded, how you bounce back, what is your bounce back mechanism, is the second step. Now, let us say I bounce back after pandemic as a city, okay, that everything is functioning well, social distancing is no longer a norm, malls are functioning, cinema halls are functioning, schools are open. Now, are we prepared enough because of our past experience to withstand a similar nature of pandemic if it happens again? Okay, so the thriving part is much beyond resilience. Thriving is my learning mechanism, my ability to understand, learn, implement, and cascade the new learnings in digital formats and in human formats. In this concern, when I look at the first part, the response and the recovery part, I found cities like Pune, Bangalore, Surat, and Tumakuru, which were excellent in handling pandemic through certain mechanisms. So what were those mechanisms? Before I go ahead, I know some of my students might be a little confused about what is a smart city. Of course, you would have read about it, but you would primarily think a city which has implemented a lot of digital transformation. But digital transformation to what avail? Why we transform a city so much? Why we need to, why we need to channelize so much of funds or so much of resources or so much of policy, directives towards digital transformation of city? For the simple reason, we want excellent quality of life for the residents of the city. Okay, that is why I say citizens are very important part. Okay, second important thing is the cities are basically hub of economic development. I mean, the migrants that come from rural belt to urban area, are looking for economic opportunities. When I say migrants, I do not mean only laborers. Even I'm a migrant. I shifted from Punjab to Delhi to look for better career opportunities. Okay, but also cities are, if you would look at it, the definition is trying to talk about inclusive and sustainability. So inclusiveness comes from social fabric. Okay, that I'm responsible to women, I'm responsible to senior citizens, I'm responsible to people with disabilities, I'm responsible to all vulnerable communities, which I talked about, that Dr. Maram is very well looking into. People from Harijan Bastis, vulnerable public school students, etc., etc. So all genre of people, when they are being responded equally for economic opportunities in a manner that those opportunities will not dry up. Okay, those opportunities will be in a self creation mode, like an hydra. These are what a smart cities are. That means cities that are sustainable, inclusive, and lead to economic opportunities. To do this, cities have to use a lot of decision making. To do that, they need a lot of technology. Okay, it doesn't go like that. You put sensors, you put IoT, you put IoE, you put blockchains, you put AI engines, you create dashboards, and you have a city that is smart. No, you actually create all this infrastructure to meet these objectives. If these objectives have been neglected, city might be a digital city, but it is not a smart city. So if you look at this definition and understand the abbreviation, which I've put deliberately so that you don't forget it, QOL, quality of life, which comes from people focus, which comes from livelihood options, which comes from better governance, which comes from mobility, which Dr. Maram talked about. And of course, a sustainable city is also a city which is clean and green. So environment is always an important factor of focus. Yes, to do that at the back end, we implement AI, we implement Internet of Things, we implement open data analytics, and we implement the related technologies, including 5G, which Sir talked about. And let me be sharing with you very candidly, days of 6G are also not very far away, even in India. Depending on how L&R, legal and regulatory framework, goes, we would soon have, cities that are using quantum computing and to us. Okay, so keeping that in mind, that this is how it goes. Can you hear me? I can hear a disturbance. Okay. So keeping this in mind, how do smart cities respond to pandemic through digital transformation? Number one thing which a smart city should have is an integrated command and control center. Okay, an integrated command and control center is like a complete digital twin of the city being replicated in a war room or in a control room, where I have panels that display me what is happening at each part of the city, at each important part of the city. Okay, and of course, there are so many displays, but my displays have the intelligence to flash an emergency so that my focus comes on that part of the data and not on the rest of the screens. Okay, so integrated command and control center are not just wonderful displays of each and every part of the country or the city, but it is also having business analytics to help you look at a situation which needs your constant attention. Apart from that, a smart city with regard to pandemic will focus on the livelihood options for people who've been displaced. It would also ensure public service delivery within a range. It would also have a look into hygiene part. It would also look into health part. That goes without saying. So keeping this in mind, technology wise, because our discussion is digital transformation, what do we need? Various tools we need. So when my researchers were trying to look at the tools from this perspective, they said, ma'am, itna kuch hai. Kya batayenge students ko? I said, very easy. Just make a bulb. Let that bulb flash and let them pick up the ray, whatever they want to. If you pick up even 2 or 3 rays of the bulb I've given you, you have understood smart cities. So first and foremost, like you understood, to capture what is happening in each part of city, you don't need just CCTVs, you need intelligent CCTVs so that they flash the data as well, not just the image, but also the related data. So an AI-based CCTV will recognize face, it will have facial recognition, it will have sentiment recognition, it will blare when a mob is getting collected, It will indicate if a suspected criminal is in that area. So that is why I did not write only CCTV. I wrote AI-based CCTV. Apart from that, my eyes and ears and my brain, as I said, will be ICCC, the war room, which I talked about. All this is coming to the decision maker, not so everybody can't go to that physical war room or that ICCC. So the important policy makers, like my mayor of my city, or the city leader of my city, or my lieutenant general, or probably my vertical heads, my frontline officers, my line departments, all of will have their machine and a corresponding app to show them the visualization of the data, which is called a dashboard. Contact tracing app is always the front end, which will help us to identify the cluster of pandemic. Of course, we need e-commerce portals to help us, but in a better way. Okay, and then we would a lot of countries. I was going through Spain model of digital transformation, and I found lot of countries were using not just public address systems or drones for selective spraying, but they were relying on GIS and thermal tracking also. Now, dear students, GIS and thermal tracking is basically a technique which is used by tri-services, okay, which is used by the armed forces of a country. I mean, they have been using it for years galore. Imagine this coming to our boundaries, to our daily existence. So this is a very advanced form. The thermal tracking just maps your temperatures, and by the temperature variations per person, they identify if a cluster of people are happening. Okay, so thermal tracking is very useful when you don't want to use sensors and you rely on thermal trackers to identify whether there are four-legged animals here or two-legged animals and two-legged entities here, and how many of them. Apart from that, you do need a very good transport facility, which is micro mobility and shared mobility. Lot of countries have, like New Zealand, have worked on smart taxis or self-driven taxis to ensure that people do not depend on the conventional way where contact between driver and citizens can spread the pandemic. So this is how a command and control center looks like, very filmy, but it is indeed very interesting. You can always go and visit any command control center across a country with due permissions, in any state for that matter. Because I'm a technical person, just unraveling the components of command and control center, you can refer it later. It looks into various verticals, but at the back end, there are certain algorithms and protocols that are functioning, and it needs a lot of sensors to help us do that. So in India, it's not a science fic, it's a reality. The first and foremost city which came to, implement this more meaningfully was Jabalpur. Very surprisingly, they had this outbreak and they immediately resorted to the use of their implemented technologies. Obviously, it's not started fresh. Some preparedness in the city was already there. And that's where, like Maram sir said, Digital India has helped us a lot. Okay, Digital India did prepare these cities, majority of them, of these 100 smart cities, to be ready with infrastructure which can be used for predictive decision making. Apart from that, Pune is one city which all of us have admired. When I was working with World Bank in one of their stints, I think it was somewhere in August last year, that we realized that Pune has come up very well. We listened to those stories and we thought it's one of the best case studies to be showcased to the world outside. And Pune Municipal Committee had used dashboards. You can have a look at the dashboard. Also, the screen is showing you. This is how a dashboard looks. You get to see all the numbers very visibly. You know where to focus on and what is happening where. Okay, so primarily this is what I've shared with you, but because students want referring points, I've put everything on the slide. You could have access to it later. Okay, apart from that, managing the lockdowns, ensuring that basic supplies are there, ensuring that the chains are not broken, the last mile connectivity is there, ensuring that my connectivity, not just in terms of transport, but digital connectivity is throbbing, it's happening. My financial, infrastructure, my ATMs are on, working, they are loaded with cash. All these aspects are very important, and country has to implement that apart from just putting sensors there. Okay, sanitization and health goes without saying. Now, interesting case studies apart from Pune and Jabalpur, which I need to share with you, are also Raipur, Chandigarh, Agra, Varanasi, Pimpri. You can just go through it. All of them don't implement the bulb I showed you. They pick up the context wise, they pick up the local reality, they understand what is easier to implement, they understand what is the local problem. Like, I remember there was one mayor I was talking to just at the outset in April or May. That mayor, I'm forgetting the city, but I can share that with you later. And that mayor said, ma'am, first and foremost thing I had to do was stop people meeting for religious reasons. So he used drone culture to identify mobs. Okay. So, and there was another one I was talking to in Nizamuddin area, they use drones to disperse the supplies, the basic supplies and medical aid. So same technology can have different requirement depending on the local context. One thing I want to share with you is that there are a lot of vendors in the market. Okay, they are giving their own solutions. They are touting their own solution as the best solution. And I don't believe in proprietary solutions, but I would love to share with you that there are some suppliers who are not just supplying you the product, but they are giving you the whole solution of digital transformation. Putting sensors is one thing. Putting dashboard and the related infrastructure is one thing, but would it work? I've been telling for past 30 years to everybody who's come to me or asked me to give my opinion that technology is a beautiful marriage of hardware and software. It's as simple as that. So these devices which we talked about are just the hardware part. But if you put them out there on the streets or on your transport or on all your basic infrastructure, but you don't have the mechanisms of gathering the data, making sense out of that data, then this conventional cliche line data is oil is useless. Okay, so you need software for that. You need software to stream the data, to process the data, to segregate the data, to make sense of the data real time, and then to update the data. So there are perspectives to treating hardware separately and software separately, but it doesn't work like that. You need all these in layer model, and everything should be blended as one platter. Okay, so that is why some solutions need to be looked into more carefully before agreeing to settle for brand names which you think are reliable. This is how, being students, I was handling this thesis for, I think this was some university in Delhi, Guru Gobind Singh Technical University, somebody's PhD Viva I was monitoring. And I asked that girl to, pick up the real data and predict to me how would the outbreak be. And this is what she gave me. She used AI algorithms. And then I matched with the reality and I found she was very close to the estimates. And let's not forget, being a student, she had just very little sample data. She used GitHub to use this data. But this data, when she picked up from the public domain and mapped the outbreak, it was just on mark to what happened subsequently in reality. Okay, so this is all about what I wanted to share with you as academia, but I would now come to the con part of it. Con part of it is technology, hardware or software comes as one unit, but who uses that unit? People like you and me, okay, citizens who would probably not have access to devices earlier, citizens who are wary to use platforms, citizens who have no access or mechanisms or resources to buy those devices, digital divide, which I'm sure you would have read somewhere. So to ensure all that, first and foremost thing is sensitization, spreading awareness. Okay, this is very important. It might sound like a child's play. It is not. Okay, trust me, I'm trying to hobnob with the best minds of Government of India to tell them, if in pandemic for digital transformation, I cannot provide digital devices to vulnerable communities, I cannot provide software for them, I cannot provide dashboards for them, then you are only creating systems or cities which are only for elite people or rich people. Okay, who wants that? These kind of people who speak English, who have access to devices, is just top of the pyramid, just this much. Okay, this is not even 20% of the total bottom of the pyramid or the rest of the pyramid. So sensitization, advocacy, access to devices, maybe refurbished digital devices. I'm trying to start a drive where I want your support is refurbishment of digital devices. I'm trying to create a digital platform of digital daan. Okay, we are people like you and me who discard our phones so fast, discard our laptops, our chargers are cluttered in our house. If you open your Almira, you'll find them toppling out of your Almira. Imagine at a city level. So how many obsolete devices have been discarded just because you don't find them befitting your status or your need? So what do you do with them? You don't discard them, please. Don't sell them on OLX. Other people in your vicinity, in your area need it. So I'm trying to start a platform where people like you and me can donate this. And I would have manufacturers in the central belt who would refurbish this, create them as a working model. And then I would have set of beneficiaries who would be targeted, who would be classified as per their need. And those devices will be passed on to them free of cost or very minor cost. Minor cost because I want a sense of ownership. Nothing comes for free. If you give something for free, something is definitely behind what is being given. Okay. So I'm trying to have a digital Daan platform. I need all of you to contribute to it, your obsolete devices. And then there will be a gamification that those who contribute X number of devices, they get some brownie points, and then they have access to other offline services which are required by them. So there are a lot of such drives that can be created by people like you and me. Please pick it up in your projects, because this is what India needs now. Because India has problem of cost, India has problem of cybersecurity, India has problem of people not being trained. India is not preparing itself well to handle electronic junk. We don't want to become electronic junkyard for developed countries. Don't forget that. They should not dump their old Tesla models on us. They shouldn't dump their satellite garbage on us. They shouldn't dump their old machines on us. When I was working for World Bank almost 30 years ago, I used to find a lot of World Bank initiatives were advocating those machines that were obsolete elsewhere. Okay. And I was very firm in opposing that. So we should not let that happen. Now we are empowered community. I mean, 30 years ago, India was still not digital India, but now with digital India awareness, we should be very proactive and literate. And connectivity in a country like ours is still an issue. Even when I'm sitting in the heart of the country, heart of capital of the country. Sorry? Okay, last but not the least. Harshit, please mute yourself. Okay, thank you. So, okay, now this is my last takeaway from my points. Okay, first and foremost, whatever digital transformation you might do, whatever kind of technology you might implement, it should always be less digital and more humane. Okay, okay, and it should also be, you know, there is life beyond human beings. It should be sensitive to the pets. It should be sensitive to the cattle. It should be sensitive to other species on the earth. Okay, have you seen recent Australian clips where you found dogs were being rescued by authorities? So why can't we be more empathetic to the whole ecosystem? If you've read about Gaia theory says if one species dies or is extinct, rest of them will suffer, especially human beings who are on the top of the chain. So everything should be looked into. We should be more humane and less digital. We should not be vendor locked. We should also focus on other aspects like people who are on vulnerable side who are affected. We should create technologies which will ensure national security, city security, and individual security. Because if these are not managed well, there will be a social unrest in the country. Okay, cities should not just focus on education. Cities should also focus on other aspects like performing arts, because socially vibrant city will be more interesting city than a city which is perfect in everything else but not in performing arts. All of us know that. So idea is to ensure that policy making is responsive to these, so that disaster is curbed, does not become a calamity, but is instead an opportunity. That's all I have to say. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Any questions, please? With the permission of MC and the moderator and chairperson, if there are questions, I would like to take them now, because as I said, I have another meeting at 5 o'clock. So if there are questions, I can handle them now, please. And then I'll take the permission of everybody to exit.
Thank you, Charu. It was a very, very wonderful session, and it was very interesting to know about the smart cities. what is the future vision of developed area, how, I mean, we are using backend in IoT, AI, or data analytics, or I can say 5G. Because some of this, not a majority of students are the IT students, they are doing MC or BCA. And somehow they are studying this subject as a core subject, but they are not very much aware about the applicability of the subjects. And I'm sure you have given the fantastic information to them that how these technology can leverage to smart cities, and how we can have the future vision of developed area, or how such kind of facilities we can get by using all these technologies, and how smart cities can respond to COVID-19 by using these technologies. So I mean, it is very fantastic to know. Thank you so much, Charu. Thank you.
Okay. So I presume there are no questions, Manjuji, because if there are questions, I can just take them now.
So any of the students who want to ask any question, they can write on the chat box, or even
Ma'am, we have received questions. And one student asked question that how people are dividing us with the help of the digital divide purpose, so that we can our perception can be moderated or changed.
How are people dividing us?
The companies and the people who are making these trends and all.
I would not be commenting on, but companies like that. Listen, what sells, what is being demanded. Okay, this is very, very clear. Okay, and it is our demand of people like you and me, what has created FANG. If my students know about it, FANG is like Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, and Microsoft. So this is a negative word, but the fact is these big tech companies have thrived because we willingly shared data. We willingly shared our photographs. We willingly shared when we bought a new car. We willingly downloaded everything by saying, I agree. And hence our data became their resource. Please don't forget, there is a saying that when something is free, then you are the product. Okay, so these big companies used our information, our personal sensitive information as product, and monetized it to create their models where we came into echo chambers. We got restricted. I'll give you an example. On Netflix, when you watch a particular movie, like I saw Mauritians yesterday, or whichever movie, next time I was shown Gravity as my next choice. So what was happening? I got blinkers around me as a consumer. Okay, you watch science fiction, you watch all these space movies. Even do something, they know what I want to do. For example, if I'm Googling about food, how to create interesting food, the next is, I get an offer from a blog. So please understand, these companies are doing this because I permitted them to do it. I wanted convenience, and hence they innovated that. So before you blame big companies for any kind of divide, maybe digital divide, please look into your own cyber hygiene when you are online. That's it I have to say.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, so do I have your permission to leave?
Yes, thank you, Charu ma'am. We know that you have another assignment, so we really thankful to you that you spare time from your hectic schedule. So really thanks to you.
No, Manjuji, thanks for thinking about this kind of an initiative. It's very useful, and please feel free for the students to reach unto me through you whenever they need to on anything on digital transformation and cybersecurity. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So our next eminent panel member is Ms. Poonam Madan, Digital Marketing Specialist, Web Analytics Expert, SEM PPC Consultant, Certified Independent PPC Consultant for Google AdWords and Binge Advertising, providing expert services in account creation, campaign management, and troubleshooting, providing training for web analytics and SEM Google Ads. She has a thorough and in-depth knowledge of setting up PPC accounts, campaigns, and ad groups. She is experienced in optimizing structures, keywords, and ads to get the best result in the search network as well as the display network. She has been a Google certified professional and internet marketing professional for more than 7 years. She is experienced in measuring and analyzing the success or failure of marketing strategies and tactics. Based on that analysis, pull out key and actionable insights to improve results. Now I would like to call Ms. Poonam Madan, ma'am. Now over to you, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Poonam, you are audible to us.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for having me, Manju.
No, thank you, Poonam.
It's a good opportunity for
Despite
me
you
as
have a
well.
meeting at 5:15 and we are getting late actually.
Yeah,
So
actually,
really
I
sorry
have
for that. Really sorry
scheduled
for
my
that.
client meeting at 5:15. I
Yeah.
didn't know that till what time we are having this discussion. That's okay. So it was really interesting to know about from different perspective of digital uses, from a smart city perspective, from education perspective, and from digital marketing, as Gaurav mentioned earlier. I'm also from digital marketing background. So I'll be adding some value to you guys from a marketing perspective only, as a marketeer, as a professional, what kind of skill set we can enhance and add some value to our career and to the companies where we are going to work in future. So as some of us shared data in previous conversations that 28% of the time we are spending on internet. So out of the 24 hours, I mean, 28% of the time in a day we are spending on internet. So if I think from marketer perspective, I have to be there where my prospects are. So I have to be present as a company, as a business in front of my target audience. So when we talk about marketing, when we talk about digital marketing, there are a number of platforms available. Most of the time we think that if I know this platform, I'll be able to do better. But if we divide this marketing perspective, marketing learning perspective in two parts, like what kind of skill set I should enhance, I should get to be a professional, be a digital marketing professional. We divide that into two parts. One is hard skills under digital marketing. Another one is soft skill under digital marketing. Hard skill, like I should know how to use these different platforms, which we have discussed earlier, like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, how to use them. But soft skill is about how do I do the communication on these platforms, how they are going to add value as a company, as a brand, as an individual. If I'm a freelancer, if I'm a blogger, how these tools or these platforms are going to add value, what kind of soft skills I should have in me to get maximum out of these tools. Soft skills, when we are talking about how do I communicate, as today's topic is all about digital communication. Digital communication skills is about how I am representing myself. I think digital, Gaurav mentioned that earlier, how brands are talking about themselves on internet, it's impacting their brand credibility. As he took example of Nike, that's a pretty good example how we how the brands or at individual, how we communicate about ourselves on these platforms. Because whenever we add something on internet, we are there to listen to others' opinion. We are open to that, right? So we have to be really careful when we are adding something on the internet, on any of these platforms. So these platforms are mainly, if I talk about from company's perspective, which platform should I use? Which platform should I learn from digital marketer perspective? We divide our personas, we divide our audience into different categories. Who is my target audience? That's the key point we take care of when we do our digital marketing, when we do our communication. If I'm talking to the students, my platform will be different than if I'm talking to a person who is sitting in the office and doing their job from 9 to 5. So we divide our audience, we select the platforms accordingly, and we communicate through different channels. So that's what we do under digital marketing on day in, day out basis. Few questions we ask to ourselves when we do digital marketing planning. What is my digital goal? What do I really want to achieve from these platforms, from digital communication? What do I want to achieve? then we ask what kind of message will help me to convey to my audience properly. What do let's say my goal is to achieve branding for my brand, for my product I've launched. What kind of message should I give to my audience so that they can understand about my product easily? Who is your market? What is the best platform to reach to that market? So these are few questions we ask when we make a digital communication planning or digital marketing planning. How can you capture their attention online and achieve their sale or achieve their buy-in for your business? So to sum this up, summarize all these points about digital marketing or digital communication. We take care of our audience. We take care of audience persona, what they want to listen, on which platform they are in. So we do our marketing planning accordingly. Okay, so I think I would summarize over here only, Manju. If anybody wants to ask anything around it, I can talk about it. Otherwise, I would like to take a little leave from here because I'm getting calls constantly on my phone for the meeting.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now it's time for taking out some queries.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
We have some queries of students. What is social media emotion marketing?
Okay, emotional marketing. Yeah, the message which mainly using the social media, giving the communication, mainly using the videos. We can do wonderful emotional marketing. There are a couple of brands which they are doing great job, especially the FMCG products, the fast moving consumer good products. Their marketing is mainly on giving a concept or doing kind of a little bit of emotional marketing using the digital media.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to give vote of thanks on the behalf of IMS Noida to Dr. Manju Gupta ma'am, Dr. Hari Krishna Maram sir, Dr. Charu Malhotra ma'am, Ms. Poonam Madan ma'am, Mr. Gaurav Mehrotra sir, Professor Preeti Rajvanshi ma'am, for this enlightening session over the topic Role of Digital Communication in Emerging Social Setup. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. See you then.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we are ending the session.